Okay. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics as Non-Classics. This is episode number 1259 and Doubleshot number 1153. Two more Green Lantern trades from Brian Venditti's run for the book. First up, let's talk about something really cool. I love this thing, especially after rereading it. Now, I originally read this when it was coming out, how long was this? It was about almost a little over 6 years ago this came out. Really? It's been that long? Yeah, it has been that long. This is Green Lantern New Gods Godhead. Yeah, that's a really cool way of pronouncing it. Of course, this all basically, we have a bunch of writers on here. We have Rob Venditti, who he along with now he does Green Lantern and of course Green Lantern Corps because he does Jensen. Justin Jordan, not Justin Gray. Justin Jordan does Green Lantern New Guardians. Charles Scholl does the Red Lantern issues, and Cullen Bunn does Sinestro. Interesting little factoid about this crossover. This is the first and only crossover that Sinestro Tower ever took a tie-in for. Yes. I'm like, what? Seriously? This is the only one? Yeah, this is the only one it ever did. In the entire 23-issue run of Sinestro, which also had one annual, by the way, this is the only time it ever took part in a crossover, which you probably would have thought maybe they would have done it for Lights Out. No, they never did. Lights Out, they were nowhere to be seen. As far as I can tell, there was no explanation exactly why they couldn't include Sinestro. Probably because it had not been released yet. It's possible. But yes, of course, this is now what does Charles Scholl? What does he write? He writes Red Lanterns. Colin Budd does Sinestro. Justin Jordan does New Guardians. Now, this book contains most of the entire crossover except for there's a few tie-ins, which are the last three issues of Infinity Man and the Fire Evil, which that's not in this trade for some reason. I'm not sure why. This trade collects Green Lantern says New Gods Godhead. This is a one-shot, along with Green Lantern Volume 5, issues 35, 37, Green Lantern, and of course the third annual, which was I think there was actually one more annual published after this, and that was it for this volume. You have Green Lantern Corps, Volume 3, issues 35, 37, Green Lantern Guardians, 35, 37, and, well, of course, Red Lanterns, 35, 37, and Sinestro, 6 to 8. And this is told in 3 acts. The first part shows off, the sort of the universe and basically talk about new gods. And of course you have... Now, the biggest criticism I heard about this crossover was how Highfather himself was written. Now, at the time this came out, no one liked how Highfather was written. They thought he was written to be completely out of character to the traditional Jack Kirby style of how Highfather was written. I mean, yes, he's wearing completely different attire than he was previously known for showing. For me, anyways, I don't have really a high opinion on the matter. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of longtime DC fans who actually didn't like how Hi-Fi was written this crossover. Yeah, this also details the backstory of the war between Apocalypse and, of course, New Genesis. And then it cuts straight to present day, where Highfather and Metron are at the Source Wall. Also, Metron has got a frickin' redesign. Now, I should point out, though, this look for Metron is actually not in the storyline that comes along after this, which is Darkseid War. Yes, he looks like frickin' this, where he's got wires in his head, and his chair looks completely different to how it's traditionally depicted. Yes, I'm not really sure why they decided to change his look for after this, but Highfather, he looks exactly the same. So, he knows that the Source Wall does look different. Probably because Relic is in the Source Wall, oh, hi, Relic. Haven't seen you since Lights Out. Because I think at the time this came out, it had been almost a year since Lights Out. Yep. So, he basically talked about the whole thing with the Lightsmiths. Even he probably found the whole thing about Lightsmiths to be utterly ridiculous. Now, I'm not sure. Now, this book is written by all the writers of this crossover. Now, I'm not sure who wrote this. Either was Venditti. They have, when Metron speaks, he has this sort of computerized type of thing where he's basically mentioned about Lightsmiths, not Nightsmiths, the Lanterns. That's Adventures of Vibe. Basically mentioning the events of Lights Out. Now, I don't think it was Venditti who did this because I'm sure he must have liked the idea of lightsmiths. My personal guess, this is probably either Charles Scholl doing this, or this was, I'm not sure who wrote this particular line, because I don't think it was Venditti who did this. Otherwise, though, he would have basically undid something that he did, because either that or people didn't like the idea of lightsmiths when this whole concept of this stuff was introduced in the Relic one shot. That book probably got a lot of flack and criticism. So they basically look at the source wall and they try to up a weapon to use the lantern rings to try to take on Darkseid. Meanwhile, everybody's still mourning the death of Kyle Rayner. Spoiler, he's actually alive. Yes. And then we have Orion. Yes, Orion makes his first appearance here. Now, fun little factoid about Orion and Highfather. Prior to this, I don't think these two had actually been seen in DC Comics prior to this. Because the thing is, the New Gods have ironically been absent in the current continuity prior to this storyline. Which, that's quite interesting to say the least. Because around the same, I think it was just prior to the story coming out. Yeah, it was actually just prior to the story coming out in the pages of Batman and Robin, which also featured the return of Darkseid, had the return of G. Gordon Godfrey, a character who had not been seen since before Flashpoint. Here, we had the return of Orion, the adopted son of Highfather and the biological son of Darkseid. Though in this continuity, he doesn't find out just like Odyssey about that. So basically, he talks with his generals, one of whom had been broken up. So they go out to see the spectrums. Basically, we have the Star Sapphire Corps, the Indigo Tribe, the Blue Lanterns, Green Lanterns, Sinestro Corps, the Orange Lanterns, Red Lanterns. Surprisingly, the Black Lanterns are not part of this thing. I'm like, really? You don't, like, okay, you eventually include the White Lantern, but at no point do you ever actually go out to find the Black Lanterns? Like, I'm surprised no one pointed this out when this came out a little over 6 years ago. And I'm like, okay, you have all these Lantern Corps representation here, but not the Black Lantern Corps? What, you don't want to have control frickin' zombies? Like, okay. It's possible. Now, my guess is they probably did that, and this is my personal theory of why they include the Black Lantern, is because I think there's some people in DC probably were not big fans of Blackest Night, despite the fact, for fans' perspective, that's one of the most popular crossovers of the previous decade. Well, yeah, it was one of the previous. It was actually, I think the story came out in, I think it was like 2009. I think it did. It came out during the period of time where DC was releasing a boatload of crossovers. Yeah, I think it was like a period from like 2006, about 2011. There was like crossover. And then like, I guess some of DC must have realized though, yeah, we should probably stop doing that. So occasionally we've had crossovers. I mean, just last year we had, what was it, about 2? Yeah, just 2. It was Dark Knight's Metal, and of course last month, which was Endless Winter. Of course, this is a Green Lantern crossover. So, with the exception of the Forger, he goes out to simply find them. By the way, this guy looks almost exactly like a freaking Celestial. Yeah. I mean, look at this face. He looks like one of the Celestials. My guess is the reason why he's designed like this, because Jack Kirby probably created this guy. Oh yeah, and also Light Ray's here as well. He's one of the New Gods. So they go after them. First stop is basically New Kartor. Fun fact about this place. This place used to be frickin' War World. Yes, a place that was the home to Mongol. Yes, Sinestro took over this place and proclaimed it his new home planet after his original home planet was destroyed during the Wrath of the First Lantern crossover. Oh yeah, and also his mistress is here as well. Yep. I think her name is Desana, I think her name is. Yeah, she's the keeper of the Book of Parallax. She is hot. Though I should point out, I think it was just after this that there were some traitors in the Sinestro Corps, and it turns out she was actually a traitor. So, basically, Sinestro's punishment for her was to have her sleep with him. despite the fact he's already has a fully grown daughter. I'm sure if I was him, like, I had this beautiful woman basically who's by my side, who's loyal to me, I'm gonna sleep with her. Yeah, book it up basically. It's like, give me a power ring. Or, you misunderstand. So, which ring does she take? She cuts up the hand of Arkello of all people. Yes, Arkello. Yeah, chops off his hand, takes his ring. And then they go off the Orange Lantern Corps, which they don't really... Now, they take his ring, but he's got plenty of spares. Yeah, because here's the thing. Larfleeze is the only member of the Orange Lantern Corps. Oh, by the way, this crossover has reference to War of the Green Lanterns, which I'll get to that. So we have someone taking a member of the Star Sapphire Corps. And then we have this guy takes a member of the Indigo Tribe, like, he takes her like, man, I could just take it. And the guy says, I'm free. Well, there's a reason for this, because it was revealed prior to this, the Indigo Tribe are made up of criminals who are forced to basically put on these rings. It's not that you do this basically willingly, like the other member corps do. Oh no, these people are forced to put these rings on. And it was also revealed that Indigo 1 was no enemy of Abin Sur, because he's the one who actually founded the Indigo Tribe. And on Earth, we have one guy who's going after basically someone from the Red Lanterns. This lady. Oh, one of the Red Lanterns. So, they take her ring away. Oh, but the strange thing about this guy is the woman he sleeps with basically has got sort of disfigured face. I'm sure he's got his fetishes. Then we have Orion go after Saint Walker. Yes, Orion goes after Saint Walker. And he tries to get the ring, but he's stopped by Hal Jordan. He's like, who the heck are you? What did you do on my planet? But the ring he took... He didn't take St. Walker's ring. Oh no, he took Mogo's ring. Yeah, so Mogo was dying without his ring. I'm like, okay. So, basically they stole the rings just so they could make this rod. Yeah, the life equation. The reason? Kill Darkseid. And to test it out, they destroy a whole freaking planet because they can. And of course, then we have Katarina pop up in this crossover. Yeah, and that was a lot of stuff I just mentioned. That's all part 1. Yep. Then we see like the remnants of people who died. So I was like, we need to recruit some allies. So we have Metron talking to Orion, who's at the Source Wall. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something interesting. So what is this? Of course, we have Sinestro basically decided to step in because he wants to. We have this one guy from... come on. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. One guy fights Sinestro, who basically actually fights Hal Jordan. And of course, well, let's see. Then the Guardians convince Kyle Rayner to participate in this, along with Carol Ferris. And of course, he has High Fire brings him to New Genesis. And then we see Carol and Kyle make out. And then we have the Red Lantern stuff where, first thing we open up, see we're in the Persian Gulf, and we see Ice in a bikini. Yeah, if you're a male, you're like, oh yes. Guy Carter, you lucky guy to get this beautiful woman. And this is, of course, right after the disassembly of the Red Lantern Corps. Yep. They're pretty much all gone, though they all came back anyways. So, you have Frisian. And it's kind of, he says he keeps it because, well, what if someone else gets her hands? It becomes Red Lantern, so he basically contains it. Then we go to Kuwait, where Guy Gardner simply just beats up some dictator. And then people from New Genesis shows up. One of them happens to be, it looks like a slightly older woman who's actually the lover of this black guy. Mm-hmm. yeah, he is her lover. And of course, this guy beats up the dictator. And of course, there's a brawl with, well, Guy. And then the guy is saved by Simon Boz, who explains about the whole New Guardian stuff. Not New Guardians, the New Gods. Okay, so we need to use a boom tube to go to Genesis. Oh yeah, and they do. And then we have a whole issue, the whole Sinestro issue, him just on his home plane. He's like, maybe we should go this way. Of course, he's informed what the heck is going on. And we tease stuff with, we see a brief image of Black Hand. Yes, Black Hand made his first appearance since the second arc of, well, he was briefly a member of the Indigo tribe, though he's been freed. Yeah, so we have a lot of brawling going on. And there's potential for Bugada to join the Sinestro Corps. Spoiler, she does. She does join the Sinestro Corps. She's by far the first person in New Genesis to become part of the Sinestro Corps. Oh, by the way, there's actually reference to what happens with, that we have Sinestro's daughter here, and she gets attacked by one of her own fellow Lanterns for allegedly betraying them, but nope. Yeah, she had no choice in the matter. She was brought there by freaking Sinestro. We have seen briefly said New Genesis, basically informing that, well, of course, obviously Orion and his father don't get along with each other. Yeah, then of course, well, the Sinestro Corps try to chip in because their old enemies, the Green Lantern Corps, show up and they explain what the heck is going on. And yeah, basically a brief fight between Sinestro and, well, Hal Jordan, who basically considers him very predictable. Like, what happened to the old Hal Jordan? You're very predictable. What happened to be unpredictable? So, they agree. And then we cut to Earth. Coast City. We see Black Hand is putting on a circus. And then we see like Harry Houdini putting on a performance. Lose his hands. A ringmaster lose his head. And then we see the Flying Graysons. Yes, John and Mary Grayson, the parents of Nightwing, do a performance. So they apparently died, though they're saved by, well, Hal Jordan's like, oh, you party pooper. And then he pretty much just talks to him for a while, forms a cage around himself. Of course, they have to cut to something else before they get that. Well, it's interesting though. This scene very much sets up basically Black Hand going to the Source Wall. Yep. As far as I can tell, he's never been to Source Wall before. Mostly, he's been contained on Earth the whole time. More recapping basically what's going on, though it's still really good. Some good dialogue. I really want to get to the Black Lantern stuff. Let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, and then we have basically something that happened also in War Green Lanterns. Happens here too. John Stewart becomes a Star Sapphire. It's like, John Stewart of Earth, you show great love in your heart. Welcome to the Star Sapphires. I'm sure readers at the time like, what? Why the heck would they have John Stewart? The guy's an idiot. Which sometimes he's usually depicted as that. Yep. Though I don't like the fact that the story, like, oh, we had to wait a while before we get back to the Black Lanterns. We have Kyle Rayner briefly lose possession of the White Lantern ring, and we have basically a brief flashback of just like origin, and like okay, then we have Carol using what's remnant of her power to attack Highfather, and of course they get away via boom tube, and they get outside like wow, it's like so remnants. Yeah, this is basically New Genesis, basically the planet itself. See, New Genesis, the city, is a floating city above this thing. So, he's like, yeah, like, we're going to win. Yep, and then we cut back, and we got to the Red Lanterns issue. Like, we need to find a way to get there. So, what do? Well, of course, the recap stuff is happened in the book prior to this. Like, okay. So, what do? I guess then they go to Star Labs, where somehow they found out Cyborg was here. Yes, Cyborg of the Justice League. Yes. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Why are they going to him? Pure and simple, really. Because he has apocalyptic technology in him. Basically, he has boom tube tech in him. So, yeah, he doesn't know where it is. So, guys, like, what if I give you the coordinates via my ring that I have? He's like, okay, fine. And then, of course, Chip is here, and of course, Chip, Guy, and Simon basically go to New Genesis. And then we see a New Genesis where these two lovers look like they just finished having sex. Though I don't know how this woman is. She looks like a much older woman sleeping with a much younger guy. Yeah, I don't really know. It's their thing. I'm not going to question it. And of course, Guy and Simon just happen to end up in their bedroom. And of course, he is, I think he's just wearing, I think he might be naked. So they just put on their armor and beat the crap out of it. Like, okay. And of course, Highfires are like, stop. Please do a cell. Okay. Not done yet. Let me see. Stuff with apparently that Bokuda. This whole first part of the issue is like Bokuda has potential to become a member of the Sinestro Corps, which she does. And that's where the whole betrayal thing, like, something happened in the Star Wars movie that came out a couple years after this book did. So, after much deliberation, then we finally head back to it. Also, this is basically homage. Act 3, believe it or not, all the covers for Act 3 are homages to Jack Kirby covers. This one here is a homage to OMAC number 5. Yep, so we previously see the prison stuff. Sinestro uses Parallax to escape, and then we finally got back to this. It took a while to get back to this. So basically, after some convincing, and of course Hal seeing his late father again, he convinces Black Cat to come with him, and of course all the Black Lantern zombies go back to their graves. So they go to Sarswell, and wow, he's like so impressed by it. It's like my compliment to whoever built this wall. The architecture is inspiring, and Hal's like, where's Sinestro? Yeah, and it's something though. A guy who's necrophiliac is complimenting an architect who built the infamous Source Wall. The thing that's supposed to be on the edge of the universe. And then we have Orion show with his guards, and of course, Black, there's some of that. And basically what he does, he just summons a bunch of dead Green Lanterns. And Hal's like, you raided the fallen spirits of fallen Green Lanterns? And he's like, I figure like fallen like familiar faces. And he's like, okay. Yep. And of course he proceeds to punch Orion in the face. Like, that punch is even for the last time, Orion. Now, let's find out who's better or who's a better man. No constructs, no blasphemy or low gizmo. Just you, me, and our fist. And he's like, invitation accepted. And he gets interrupted by the other lanterns. And then one of the guardsmen gets pushed. His cape just barely touches the source wall. And he turns to frickin' stone. Yep, and then Black can't figure out something about the source wall. It's a mass grave. Oh, hi, Relic. Oh, yeah, and this is actually... Actually, that was not OMAC number 5. I'm not sure. This one's actually OMAC number 5. This is another classic Jack Kirby. I'm not sure which one this one is. So... we have more stuff from... We apparently have some Lanterns trying to fight Hi-Fi where they get killed. And, of course, John Stewart basically escapes. And apparently, one of the prisoners here is the guy who failed previously, so they have a brawl going on. And then we have, this is a cover, I think it's supposed to be homage to Commodity number 1, this cover. That looks like to me, it's Commodity number 1. So Carol and Kyle basically just out in the wild. And then we have Metron, in much better coloring, I gotta admit. Though it looks more closer to how the traditional Jack Kirby depicted him. He's not gray anymore. He's not blue. Still have the wiring in his face, and he's in the wrong frickin' chair. Usually it's black. Like black or silver. Why the heck does his hair chair look like this for? Yes. So basically, then we have Carol and Kyle break John out. Yep. And we have a big brawl going on. More fighting. And of course, we cover with another homage to a classic Jack Kirby cover. Yeah, with Simon and Boz basically open up this one. I think this also isn't their I think this is a commodity cover. I'm not sure which one it is. So they escape. I think about the other guy who just basically decides to team with him because he figures out that Hi-Fire's in the wrong. And of course, the guy himself is, well, the robot is later blasted. Like there's this robot that attacks guy, blast it, and of course and then we have this cover here, which basically this cover right here is a homage to Mr. Miracle #1, which kudos on the artist of the cover, which is Gillian Marsh and Tom Moore, which is it's a great homage to Mr. Miracle #1. And this is from Sinestro of all things. Yes, Sinestro. Yep. He's like, oh yeah, I'm in my full god mode. Basically beat the crap out of you guys with parallax. And then we have a Star Sapphire ring flies by and recharges basically Kara. Kara Ferris, you have great love in your heart. Walk into Star Sapphire. I'm almost rather face another new gods. At least they gloat less. You had nothing to fear from parallax. So that's show. I can't say I'm digging your look right now. Yep, like, okay. So, we have high-far speechifying. And then Sinestro shows up, and he proceeds to start, and he talks to him for a while. And he's like, calls him a jester. And then he proceeds to form a construct of frickin' Darkseid. It's like, your brother was listed in their file. The Guardians kept detailed records of threats against the universe. Your brother Darkseid was listed in their files. The power-mad desperate hunger for conquest. There was no record of you, of course. Just a footnote in Darkseid's file. Your view is a threat. The Guardians must have realized that fact. Your arrogance must be your downfall. He's like, liar! Yep, he proceeds to beat with a frickin' mace. Guitar mechanism, my box. Here from the greatest lantern. Hi, Father. He's had enough. Yep. We come to the finale where they've such like, maybe I just touch this wall. Yeah. And he proceeds to activate the frickin' which also somehow revives frickin' Relic. And he says, rise. Yep, and brings back frickin' Relic who's been trapped in that source wall. Since then, and a big brawl with new gods, which is fantastic, well paced. And this is just really good. Of course, new gods are beaten, and we must rebuild. And the thing ends with an arm sticking out the source wall. What is his hand? Well, that kind of how it sets up the very next story arc, not the immediate story that comes right after this one. Oh no. It's it sets up the arc that comes after this brief three-parter that happens in Life Equations. This event overall is really fun to read, and it's just overall really good. 9.5 out of 10. Now for Life Equations. Basically, skipping over most of this book. Skipping over 30. This book contains 35 to 40 in the annual, which I'm skipping over those because I just reviewed those. So, going straight 38. This is a brief three-parter. Kind of says some stuff that happens in our books. So, we have Hal Jordan going home, visits her home. Runs the guy. And just come here just for a visit. So, this kind of leads into basically what happens in Green Arrow. He just flies there and gets a beer. Though it basically has a beer with Guy. And he's there in the bar. Kyle's there as well, along with Carol. And of course, Barry's there as well. Yes, the Flash is here. Yes, the Flash appearing in Green Lantern. Well, they're old friends, so why the heck not? As far as I can tell at this point in time in this book, this is the first time Flash has appeared in this book in this entire volume. Yeah, so they just play pool, have a barroom brawl. And of course, Hal finds out about the relationship between Carol and Kyle, which of course goes nowhere. And then the next couple issues are basically set up for the next era, where Hal basically just rounds up some criminals, and of course basically talks because we need to restore the reputation of the Green Lantern Corps. So he takes out his ring, and of course then we have issue 40, which is a great homage to 2001: Space Odyssey. Then he proceeds to steal. Trying to think, what was that? It's the gauntlet that belonged to one of the Guardians who died prior to this. Yeah, he steals his gauntlet. And he has this thing right after this thing. So he starts basically a stage fight with Kilowog in order to escape. So basically he becomes a criminal, a renegade. And these next two issues pretty much help set that up. So, great way to wrap up this particular... Well, it's not the end of this era just yet, per se. But it is overall... These three issues that comes right after Godhead for Green Lantern, it's really good. I get the book itself, rightfully 9.5 out of 10. It's really good. Though I think the first few issues are completely unnecessary in the trade. Now, what happened afterwards? Well, of course, we have the Renegade storyline, which I'll review that probably soon. What happened with Sinestro? Well, his book continued on for another 14 issues before it ended in 2016. Green Lantern Corps, Green Lantern New Guardians, and Red Lanterns ended not long after this. Yeah, just a few issues after these books ended, all these three series ended. Yeah, DC axed all three of these books. The only case of Red Lanterns, which this is the only one that did not retain its writer. Yeah, Charles Shaw left after this crossover. Yeah, he left. And the last few issues written by somebody else. And the reception I've heard from the last few issues of Red Lanterns is that these issues are pretty bad. It's almost seemed like the rejected Red Lantern scripts. They just happen to squeeze in order to get these books out to an even number. That's what I've heard anyways. It's been a while since I've read the issues. Now, New Guardians also managed to continue on for a few more issues before canceling. Green Lantern Corps itself continuing on for 3 issues, and then having 2 miniseries coming after that, which first was Green Lantern Corps Lost Armor and then Green Lantern Corps Oblivion. Written by 2 different writers. Lost Armor was written by Cullen Bunn, and Lost Armor was written by Cullen Bunn. Oblivion is written by Tom Taylor, which involves stuff related to Remvides, stuff with the whole Lightsmiths of the Golden universe. In the case of Green Lantern, this will last for another 12 issues before getting relaunched as Green Lanterns. Yeah, under a different writer, of course. But in the case of these 3 issues, they're good. They're fantastic issues, and sets us up a really good era for Green Lanterns, for the Green Lantern book. So yeah, that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned for my review for True Love Root, which I'm almost done with the series. I have officially 3 episodes left. I'm hopefully finished up pretty soon. Okay, see you next video. Bye.